Look gorgeous, as always.
If I did a whole podcast like this.
I think you should actually. In three, two, one. All right, let's jump into this, yo. You ready to pod, Dr. Renee?
I ready.
All right, what's good, everyone? It's Dr. Nee, and we are here on another episode of Docs Outside the Box. We are joined by
Dr. Renee.
the habitual line stepper.
Dr. Renee, Dr. Nee's Bay.
That's good. I like that. Actually, you should make that for the show all the time. I really, really, really like that, actually. That's dope. Yeah. What's good, everyone? Listen, we are recording. It is 9:51 p.m. It might as well be midnight because I am exhausted. And we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. But we're here to give you an episode. So listen, we got to keep it short and sweet today, Renee. We got to get straight to the point because I may just fall asleep during this podcast.
Well, I got a lot to say, so
You got a lot to say?
not really, but
Okay. All right. Well, listen, everyone. I just finished a 12-hour shift. Chest tubes, central lines, X-laps, all that stuff that goes into trauma and emergency general surgery I was doing today. My day starts, oh man, I'm up by like 5:30. I'm at work by 6:59. This shift starts at 7 o'clock because I ain't trying to give them no extra minutes. And yeah, we're done usually by 7:15, 7:30 if there's no operations. Then I got to go work out. And then I'm here recording, giving y'all what y'all need, what y'all want. So, how was your day?
my day was pretty mundane, actually.
Yeah, you got the
Got up.
kids.
Yeah, I got up, got the kids ready for school. Then got them off to school, which is a whole anyway. That's always an ordeal because getting kids ready and keeping them focused and just making sure that they do the things that they're supposed to do in the morning on a very, very strict time schedule can be a challenge, to say the least. And if you know anything about me, when I get my kids ready for school, what do I like to do? What do I like to do? What's one of the things that most people probably don't do before they send their kids to school?
I don't know, Renee. You got to let the audience know. You
Are
go ahead
you
and tell them what you're
serious?
doing.
You know what
We
I do.
podding. We podding. I'm not answering no questions. And tell them what you like to
Anyway,
do.
I like to give my kids some schoolwork before they go to school.
Yeah, but you like to give them schoolwork like 2 minutes before, and then they end up being late.
No, no,
So you
that's
need to
not
give them
true.
at least like a 30
That's
minute
not
head
true.
start.
That's not true.
And
That's
making
not
them do
true.
tic-tac-toe is not work.
They don't do tic-tac-toe. They're doing
What they
math
do?
problems. They're doing puzzles. They're doing spelling. They're doing grammar. They're doing that stuff. What are you talking about? Do you even live in this house?
I do. I do. 2 weeks out of the month. 2 weeks out of the month, y'all. And that's how we do with locums. And hey, guys, I'm going to tell it right now, guys. I do locums. And Renee does locums. And when I do my locums, I am out the house. So that's why I said the whole 2 weeks thing. There are times when like 2 weeks out of the month I'm gone, and Renee has to be surrogate dad,
What?
or I gotta be the dad through the tablet. But that's how it is. We've been working locums for over 12 years now. And listen, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, we got a course coming. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna teach you everything from the get-go of how to even get the idea of locums, or what is locums, all the way to doing your first contract, to even focusing on the tax benefits of doing locums. So I'm excited about it. You
Yay.
excited about it, Renee?
I'm very excited about it.
And
Since
apparently the audience is excited about it also because y'all just
yeah,
keep signing up for our lead magnets. As a matter of fact, we're going to put one of our lead magnets in the show notes right now so you can learn
you're
about,
not supposed to call it a lead magnet.
okay, whatever. Whatever it is, guys. I don't care. You sign up for something
So
and we get your emails, all right? But this is going to give you some important information about the how locums works and so forth. So check it out.
yeah, so basically it's a resource on 7 considerations that you should have before you start locum tenens. And so that's the link that we're going to have down below in the show notes. But if you're considering locums, you really need to think about these considerations. Um, because it's a different life than the W-2 life. So check it
Yeah,
out.
it's a different life, and I think there's different implications. I think one of the things that's really interesting when I'm dropping the kids off is I think some of the guys or some of the dads, they'll always be like, "So when are you traveling next?" Because they just know there's going to be a period of time where I'm not going to be available. But I think when they ask, I think genuinely they're interested, but I think they think that I'm on the road too much. I'm like, but you don't get it. Like, I'm there for everything that's important for my sons. I'm there for everything that's important for my family and your family. I'm there. So career-wise, I get what I get. Check. And then family-wise, I get what I get also. And I'm gonna tell y'all something right now, guys. Whether you're employed or you're in business for yourself or whatever it is in between, like, it's never perfect. You just got to make sure that it works for you and it works for your family, and that's what we have ultimately. It works for us, and I can't say that this is replicable and it's going to work for everybody, but I'm just letting y'all know that it works for us. And there's a segment that we're going to talk about towards the middle of the show where we talk about finances and putting your finances and my finances together. That even that's a hot rod, that's a fire. I forget what the word that you use, but that is something that people are really on one side about, merging finances, or completely on the other side. So we talk about what works for us, and then sometimes we will debate, if something you feel really passionate about something versus I feel passionate about something. We just try to make it work out. But before we jump into that, let me just give a shout out to everybody who's been writing to us or texting us with fan mail. Alfred, please put a screenshot in there. Basically, if you go on your phones and you go to where it says text us, if you click on that, that'll allow you to literally send us a message by text and let us know what you think about the show. Whether you like what we got to say, whether you don't like what we got to say, whether you don't like Renee, it doesn't matter, right?
Why wouldn't they like
you
me?
Text that.
Why
Trust
wouldn't they
me,
like me?
you don't read all the messages. You don't read all the messages. There's a lot of stuff that I filter out for you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
You're welcome. I know that your ego, women's ego is very fragile. You know what I'm saying? So I got to make sure I've really make sure that is filtered out, all that stuff, and just all the positive stuff, But yeah, we appreciate everything. We appreciate all the fan mail that we get. So,
is my video dark?
Your light could be a little bit better,
right?
But my light could be better also. But
I know, but
I think we're just gonna roll with it.
My video is a little dark. I can pull this a little closer.
While you're working on your lighting, I'm gonna read a message. I'm gonna read a message that we got from Textiful. Alfred, I'm gonna send you this message, so please put it on the bottom of the screen. Please do what we do. All right, this is from Kenneth. He says, "Hello, Dr. Darko. Does someone need special license to operate LLC locum tenens? I have LLC, but I am not sure if I need a special permit to operate. Thank you, Kenneth." Good question, right? It's a good question because what this boils down to is, because this is always are you LLC versus are you PLLC, right? And right, because if you're a private practice or if you are working, if you open up your own business where you are a private practice, right? If you're an anesthesiologist or you're an anesthetist or, you're a speech therapist and you have your own business, more than likely at the end is going to say PLLC instead of just an LLC, right? And that's for a professional.
Yeah, usually law offices, right?
Right. So basically the question is, does it really matter if you're a PLLC versus LLC, right? I think that's the key, right? Well, I don't know if that's the key, but basically they want to know, do you need a special license? And according to LegalZoom, if you are a licensed professional, you may have been advised to set up a professional limited liability company or PLLC. Before starting your practice, be sure you understand PLLC. Man, this ain't nothing, man.
I'm mad at you just Googling during the daggone episode.
That's okay. That's how we do it, though. Regarding the management, flexibility, and taxation, a PLLC has the same advantages of an LLC. The difference between the two is PLLC has some restrictions on who may be a member. PLLC cannot be used to shield members from claims for malpractice. However, the malpractice of one, I don't know what that means. So listen, guys, go and talk to your medical, go and talk to a professional, a tax lawyer before deciding if you're going to do a PLLC versus an LLC. That's one thing, right? But in terms of do you need a special license? No. The only license you need to practice as a locum tenens, that's basically you're practicing on a temporary basis as a provider. In this case for this show, is you just need to be licensed in your specialty or licensed in your medical profession.
No,
What do you
you
think,
need
Renee?
to be licensed in your state, Nee. You don't need to be licensed in your medical profession. You need to be licensed in your state.
That's what I meant.
I understand that, but that's not what you said.
All right, Miss Know-It-All. So
Okay.
you need to be licensed in
But
your
I asked the
profession,
question.
in your state. All right. So if you practice in New Jersey, you need to make sure you have a New Jersey license to practice
Yes.
medicine or whatever it may be in the state of New Jersey. Okay. That's it. Right. And once you're
What
licensed,
happened when you
then
know too much?
once you're licensed in your state, then you also have to be licensed or credentialed at that hospital that you want to work at, right? Those are two separate things, right? Having a license in a state versus having the ability, the credentials, the privileges to work at a specific hospital. In order to work at a hospital, you got to have a license in that state first. Then you go through the credentialing process where they ask, your medical school, your residency. Some of them may ask your case logs. They want to know medical malpractice cases. They want to know about medical malpractice coverage in general. They want references, all those different things, right? Those things are things that they may want to know. What are the things that they use for credentialing? I can't recall.
For credentialing, they might ask your criminal background. They might ask some of them are asking, or some of them are getting away, I think, maybe, from asking about your mental health background.
Some of them, most of them should be going away from that. That is something that we got to get away from,
Yeah. They ask for references. I think you mentioned that already. So they just basically try to verify that you are who you say you are, and that you have the education and the qualifications that you say that you do. So,
and you don't need, so if you want to work as a locum tenens, you don't need to necessarily make yourself a business to be a locum tenens, right? So what that means, right, you can be, so let's say, for example, let's say you just left the job and the job said, hey, we don't want you to leave. Can you just come here and work as, a locum tenens, right? So then you don't necessarily immediately have to start a business so that, your business can start billing and all that. No, you can still be Dr. Nee Darko. I work at a hospital, and, when I'm giving them my social security number, I give them my social security number. When they pay me as Nee Darko and so forth. You can do that. That is called a sole proprietorship, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the more basic forms of being a business. But there's a lot of benefits that you may be missing out on. One of the biggest benefits is forming a business like an LLC shields what you bring in, right? What you bring in from your business or what you bring in personally from your business from what you do in your business, right? So for example, if you become an LLC, when the hospital pays you as an LLC, they're going to pay your LLC. Your LLC is going to have like $100 in it, right? Then you take however much, $25, and you pay yourself. Well, if someone wants to sue you, more than likely they're going to sue your business. Mm-hmm. And all they are entitled to is what's in your business. They're not entitled to your personal funds. And that is a big deal, right? Because doctors get sued, more often than regular people. They got a target on their back. Yeah. So you need to be able to, or what's advantageous is being able to separate how much you bring in from a business versus you don't want someone going after your kid's college fund or your savings or how you going to pay your bills the next month and stuff like that. So that's why forming a business entity, whether that's an LLC or being incorporated or what have you, that's why that joint is.
So can we talk about it now? Can we talk about it now?
Talk about what?
About a case that we know of.
What do you mean?
About a case that we know of a lawsuit.
No. I'm not talking about it.
Can't talk about it yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
You don't want to
Sorry,
talk
y'all.
about it.
Y'all can't be privy to everything that's happening in our lives. Just know that some shit be happening, and it's good to have representation. That's it. That's all y'all gonna know.
Oh, you be potted. You
I
be
do be
potted. You be
potted
potted.
because listen, I love everybody. I love everybody who's listening and everybody who's watching. But yo, y'all don't be telling us everything that's happening in your lives. Why should we tell you, y'all? Why should we tell you what's going on in our lives?
Because you're the podcaster.
No, but I ain't got to tell you everything that happens in my life.
Oh, you gotta tell me everything. Okay.
Maybe afterwards I'll let you guys know what's going on. But Kenneth, that's the deal. You don't need a special permit to operate. You just need to be licensed in that state. You need credentials at that hospital. There's some added benefits of forming a business structure. Biggest one is what I told you, what we mentioned. But there's some other benefits also. Even if you don't become an LLC, if you become a sole proprietor, like there's a lot of things that you can deduct. You can deduct the cell phone that you use to make phone calls for your, as a locum. You can use, if you use a car, you can deduct, the gas, the maintenance, all those different things to fix your Toyota Corolla, right?
How you know he got a Toyota Corolla?
Because that's what don't we drive a Toyota Corolla? That's what,
Oh, now
no?
you want to tell everything. Now you want to
But
tell
anyway,
everything.
guys. Yo, we gave that Tesla back, so we can't say, you know, Elon Musk takes that, right?
Take that.
But we those are some of the benefits, right? Is just a bunch of deductions that you can do. And depending on the type of business that you have afterwards, an LLC, an incorporation, an S corp, a C corp, like all these different things delineate certain types of benefits that you may have. But don't let that stop you from becoming a locums, because for me, I think everybody should be locums, whether you're a sole proprietor or, you an LLC or you a S corp. I don't care. Whatever you got to say, an incorporated, everybody should be locums. What say you, Dr. Renee, who thinks that everybody should be employed?
No, I don't think
Because
that
you think that's the
everybody should be
safest.
able to.
Dr. Renee
No,
thinks that's the safest route. She does.
no, I don't actually.
Renee is scared to take risks.
No. Anyway, I'm a bigger risk taker than you.
Are you taking a risk with your hair?
Yeah. No, I don't think that.
She didn't take the bait. She didn't take the bait today. What's going on? You tired?
I
Normally you
am
take the
tired.
bait.
I am tired, but no, I don't think that everybody necessarily should be locums. I think everybody should
Everybody should be
experience.
locums.
I think everybody should experience locums so that they can know what it is as an option. Then they can make the decision as to whether or not it's a good fit for them, because it may not
Okay,
be a
hold
good
on.
fit for them.
But the whole essence of becoming, let's keep it with doctors, right? Anybody
Right.
who's not a doctor and who's listening to this, I love you. But for the sake of me winning this conversation, I want to keep it with doctors, right? Like the whole concept of becoming a doctor is you are an independent practitioner who makes independent decisions. Part of the principles of becoming a doctor is autonomy. So you make decisions based off of physiology, not based off of business, not based off of economics and so forth. So don't you think like it makes sense that if you're going to be a doctor that like you should be going and becoming an independent contractor or becoming a locum tenens?
So the problem with that thought process is that doctors are not doctors are taught to be autonomous in terms of clinical practice.
Correct.
They're not taught to be autonomous in terms of business. We don't learn any type of business at any point in our training. And so if you go out and you just decide that you just want to become a business, then the learning curve is something that, yeah, certainly if you're willing to go through the pain of getting over that learning curve, that's great. But a lot of doctors aren't willing to do that.
Well,
I
now
don't
they
think
aren't
I don't
because
well,
there's that option, right? If that option wasn't available,
but that's what I'm saying, right? If that option were not available, we wouldn't be having this discussion, right? That's the whole point. The point is, if you're gonna take the red pill or the blue pill, right? If you don't have an option of a blue pill, then it's only ever the red pill. So that's the reason we're having the discussion. Doctors have
okay.
the option of doing locums, but they don't choose to do that. Most of them don't, because they're too scared to do it. They're like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah. I mean, it is the safest
I mean,
route
you
to
don't
just
think
say
you
I'm going
don't
to take
think
a.
that doc you don't think that most doctors are like afraid to do locums?
Yes, I do. I think
Why did it take you
most
so
are
long to
afraid.
answer?
I had to think about it. I think
You
most
went
are.
through a dramatic pause.
Yeah, I'm potting.
Yeah.
Most are scared, don't know much about it, not ready to do it. The default is you just roll into whatever experience that you had in residency,
Right.
and then you go from there. The expectation prior to what we've had, like what I mean, imagine like talking about the expectations of being a resident, finishing, and becoming a practice on your own, right? Like from the
Hmm.
60s or the 70s, right? It's just like, well, I'm gonna go into private practice. Well, why? Because that's what I would just do and stuff.
Right.
I don't know, but I think that I agree with you. They should experience it. I think once they experience it, they ain't going back. You
I
know,
don't think so. I think even once people experience it, there's still going to be people who choose W-2 life.
why haven't we
Because
gone back?
I don't know, why haven't we gone back?
I love being in control of
Exactly.
every aspect
Exactly.
of my life.
Exactly.
And I know that some people are saying, well, isn't locums kind of like you don't know when your next job is going to be? Well, what we do is so yeah, you could work at like 9 different places, right? And you could bounce from place to spot to pot, blah, 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 right? You could do that all in like several months, right? Some people do that. And one
Hmm.
job could be like, yeah, we don't need you for like another, oh, we just don't need you anymore. You worked there for 3 weeks, we
Right.
don't need you anymore.
Right.
That's
Right.
true. That could happen.
Hmm.
But if you ask most people, I think most people who have done locums for a while, the number one thing that they really enjoy is they want to be able to do what they want to do, when they want to do, how they want to do. They want to be able to do that, right?
Right.
Remember when we went on the when we went on the medical mission, like there were people that when we first started doing medical missions and we were doing locums, these were people who were finishing residency and going into becoming yeah, they were in residency
Hmm.
and they were going to become attendings,
Hmm.
and this is several years. And they've been working on their own for like several years, and now they're like, I just want to go into locums because I just don't feel like asking anybody to cover for me and stuff.
Yeah.
So
So we
it's
had,
just
yeah.
there's a lot.
So just for context, so when we did a medical mission, mm, I want to say it was what, 2016 or
14.
15, or
Yeah, I
maybe
think
even earlier than that.
2014. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was a resident there, surgery resident actually, that was on our team that year, and she was finishing up that year, and she was going into her attending hood. And lo and behold, so many years later, right? Literally 10 years. This is 10 years. My gosh. So literally 10 years later, we're now on this medical mission. And she happened to be on the mission again. She came back, and she stops me and she's like, hey, I think she actually already started doing locums. And I think she's been doing it for about a year, and she absolutely loves it. She absolutely loves it. And so, it's just refreshing to kind of see somebody, kind of transition from residency, have the experience of being that W-2, figuring out that that's not necessarily the life that fits for them in this particular, moment, and transitioning to locums and just having much more control over her career.
So
So,
a business needs stability, and
mhm,
one of the things that a hospital that is a business needs stability in, it needs to know that it definitively has to have coverage all the time, right?
right.
That's the number one thing that a hospital always wants to have is I need to be able to know when I have this person available and when this person is not available, right? So locums doesn't work for them for a whole host of reasons, but
Yeah.
that for me, that's the main reason I think they don't like locums is I don't know when like 30 I need 30 days, I have 30 slots, I need to get that filled. Then if I get it filled, I need to be able to predict the cost of it also, and they can't predict the
Hmm.
cost of that. So that's another
Yeah.
reason why they don't want that they don't like locums. But if there's enough people, if there's a groundswell of people
Hmm.
who are just like, yo, I just want to work this way and that's it, as a
Yeah.
locums, what do you think? Because this is a game of chess. What do you think is the chess move from hospitals?
I think at that point,
Because there's always an equal and opposite reaction.
so let's say that you even have like a half and half, right? Let's say half of the workforce is W2 and then half of the workforce decides to do locums. Let's talk about it like that, right? Like the groundswell that you're talking about. I think at that point hospitals will have no choice but to consider locums as a very viable option. And I think that if they did that, they would figure out how to make that the more economical option, which personally, I think it's the more economical option for hospitals. But, then again, I'm not looking at their balance sheets. Um, but I think they would find it to be economical. But
I think
let me
before we
ask
got to
you,
the, go ahead.
no, let me ask you though. I think that's just part of it, right? Why physicians don't necessarily want to do locums is, well, I don't know where my next gig is going to come from and X, Y, and Z. But you don't think that benefits have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I think they're scared to figure out how to because that's, I mean, it's nothing out there. Like, okay, once you start working for yourself, where do I find health insurance? And then where do I find medical malpractice? And then how do all I know is that I got a 401k at my business or at my job. How do I do it for myself? Like, there's a lot of unknowns that go with it. We teach you how to do that in the course, y'all. There's a lot of unknowns
Red
that
pill,
occur.
blue pill. One of them pills tells you
Right.
you ain't got to worry about that.
But hold on, before we get to that point, let me finish my point because I asked you the question. Now I got to rebut, yo. This is like the debate, right?
This is not like the debate.
Yeah, I got to
Just
give it up to
because
Trump. I got to give it up to
listen,
Trump, yo. I can't
no, we
stand
ain't giving
Trump,
nothing. We
but
can't. We
but
not giving nothing up to him.
he's an entertaining dude. When he started talking about dogs and all this, like, yo, is he serious? And it's like, yo,
If
he's serious and
buffoonery,
he's
if
funny.
buffoonery is entertainment, then yes, he's entertaining. He's entertaining. If buffoonery is entertaining,
Hey, we got
Trump
to be
is
careful because
definitely entertaining.
these earbuds could be misconstrued as earrings, right? That's what they did to. That's what they did to Harris. You didn't hear about this? Yeah,
No.
real quick. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but they found a pair of earbuds. I think it's by Sennheiser that looks
Mm,
exactly like pearl earrings,
mm.
and they're saying that that's what she used during her debate to whoop
Okay.
that ass at Trump. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to my point. What I
And
want to
just
say is,
because, hold on. Just because you're talking to a Haitian,
oh damn, oh what we having for dinner when we get back?
oh, we having
We having some
cat,
canine.
cat Florentine,
No, no,
feline Florentine.
we need to have
We
some
are going
cat
to be having
legume, yo. Cat
feline
sauce.
Florentine.
Hey,
Cat
yo.
sauce.
All right, let me finish my point, yo. Come on, chill. So
Anyway.
listen. So what I think the number one thing would be, the number one move would be, I think they will take a hard line that they won't work with locums.
You
I
think
think
so?
that, yeah, I think the first thing would be a hard line. We don't work with locums, so ice people out, right?
Mm.
And then I think what they would do is just they would increase how much pay they give to their current workers or the current docs and say, hey, we need you to take extra call. Here's how much we're going to pay you. It's not going to be like, it's probably going to be like a nominal fee over what they get paid. But I think that is the number one way that I think they're going to try to ice out locums if it becomes to a certain point, right? But
Mm.
then what will happen is, and I think this is what they always count on, they know this
Hmm.
is what's going to, you're going to burn out the folks that you already
That's what
have.
I was gonna say.
But, okay, but we've seen it happen over and over and over again. And I've never seen any hospital, any medical entity try to get ahead of that by saying, hey guys, like we have to make sure that from a mental or emotional standpoint, we're giving these doctors a chance to recover, right? Because I don't think they're trained to look at doctors that way. I think they look at doctors
No,
like
as
like a
commodities.
widget
Yeah.
or a commodity, right?
Right.
This widget or this commodity can work so many different ways. Without
Yeah, like
getting
a
into
piece of
too much weeds,
machinery.
guys.
Yeah.
We want to get too much into the weeds and stuff, but like a piece of
Mm.
machinery, and they don't look at certain things. So that's interesting. But your second point, what was the second thing that you
The
asked me?
benefits. The benefits.
What specifically did you ask me about that?
No, I asked because we were talking about, why doctors don't necessarily want to do locums. And for me, I think one of the major questions that we get all the time is about the benefits. Yeah, but what about benefits? Like, benefits is a huge reason that doctors are very concerned about going into locums. And I'm like, but if me and I have been doing this exclusively anyway for about 8 years exclusively. Total, we've been doing locums for about 12 or plus
Yeah,
years,
I've been
but
carrying you for that long.
exclusively 8 years. And we've had children while we've been doing this exclusively for eight
Oh yeah,
years.
you was
Like
pregnant when we
what?
did that. You was
Right.
pregnant
It's
when we
like,
switched.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
just pregnant. We just found
yeah.
out I was pregnant when we first switched. So I'm
And
like,
then
what makes people
the government made us start to change our doctors. The government made us change. Remember? That's what they say.
what? Oh, I don't know. But we didn't change our doctors. But what makes people think, like, do people really think we walk around without insurance? Do people really think we walk around without all of those
No, I
benefits
think
that
they
we're
know.
getting?
I
Like,
think
I
they
don't
know.
get it.
They know, but it's just that I think there's an unknown of how we do it. How can they do it? And it just rather than just kind of go through all the permutations, I go like to hell with that. Let me just focus on this. And I get it. It's not for everyone. I'll be very honest with you. I know it's not for everyone, but I still think everyone should do it. So let's not beat that dead horse. Let's real quick. We're gonna spend a quick. We're gonna spend a. We're gonna spend a quick second on this. Shannon Sharp,
What?
IG Live mishap. Boom.
Oh, Lord.
Renee, can you school people? Because we do IG Live, right? That's something that we've actually started doing for Docs Outside the Box. But this Shannon Sharp, guys, for folks who don't know, I'm not going to put anything up. Alfred, don't put anything up. But Shannon Sharp, one of the folks that I watch
You don't want
on Club Shay
you don't
Shay.
want Alfred to put the audio?
Yeah, what would I, yo. So anyway, when this episode comes out, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Shannon went live by mistake, and he went live getting it in, basically, right? Knocking the boots, right? And he initially said that he was hacked. Then several hours later, he came out with an episode with Ocho Cinco that like got millions of views, where he just owned up to it.
Owned up to
Then the
what? What
next,
does that mean, owned up
he
to?
owned up to, yeah, he by mistake hit IG Live, and he,
Okay.
had himself on live getting it in. Then
Okay.
the next episode, he had all of these people, all these celebrities and comedians come on, and they roasted him, and that show got millions of views also.
Okay. Here we
So,
go. No, wait.
how many steps, Renee? Tell him how many steps is there to go
Okay.
live on IG?
Okay. Step number 1. Find the
Yeah, don't be
app
showing these people. These
on
people
your
they're gonna
phone.
hack your screen. They're gonna
Step
hack your
number
screen.
2. Pick the app. Pick
Well,
it.
that's easy. But some people
Step,
are on the app.
hold on. I'm going. Step number 3. Press the add your content button
And this is on the Android, y'all. I know
on
some of y'all
Android.
understand the Android.
Step number 4. Press the camera button. Not the
Okay.
camera, excuse me. Step number 4. Swipe to live.
Yep.
Step number 5. Push the button.
Mm.
And now we are live. So I'm gonna.
Oh wait, don't you have to put
I'm
in a
live
title?
right now. You can. You can put in a title, but technically I'm live now, y'all.
And how many steps
Okay.
was that? That was three
That was
steps you
4
had to take?
steps. That was 4 steps,
4 steps.
Shannon. 4 steps, Shannon. I just did
So
it.
basically what we're
4
saying
steps.
is
Okay.
we don't believe you, you
So-
need more people.
You need more people.
Yeah,
So,
Shannon, I
sorry,
don't
y'all.
believe you.
We're actually recording.
Yeah, we don't believe, I don't
We're
believe
actually in the
y'all on that
middle of
one.
an episode, and we're talking about Shannon Sharp. But I'm gonna hop off here. But I just wanted Shannon to know it takes 4 steps. 4. Bye. Step number 5. Find out that you live, and don't be live no more.
Yeah, I don't believe it. So, and there's so many different reasons people are saying why he would do something like that. The obvious thing is, maybe his crew was
Publicity.
like, his crew probably like, yo, we need a bunch of impressions. We need more impressions. They saying that he literally is on the verge of a 9-figure deal and they probably were looking at his impressions, which is, if you guys don't know, an impression or types of impressions are, how you do on Instagram versus how you do on TikTok versus how you do on YouTube. And they collaborate they coalesce all of that stuff. And that basically comes up with a number or a whole bunch of different numbers of how you, what's your impressions, how you, interact with people, what they feel about you and so forth. And basically just how widely do people know you and how you interact with people. That's going to determine what kind of deal you're going to get. So if you watch ESPN, what's that guy's name? He got a show. He had his own podcast for years. And then eventually he made an affiliation with ESPN. They paid him a whole bunch of money. They paid him over $100 million to produce his show to go on ESPN. So basically what they did is they gave him the money. He does the production. He pays his crew. He does the editing. He does all of that stuff with the money they gave him. And then in exchange, they get to put his show on their channel.
Their platform.
Right? So they're talking about him getting a similar deal, like a 9-figure deal, maybe even more. Mm-hmm. But you got to have the right impressions. You got to have the people who are watching. So was this a publicity stunt? We'll never know.
You tell me.
But I was.
You tell me.
But I think so. That's crazy that media.
I think it was a publicity stunt as well. There's just too many steps.
Can you do that as a doctor?
Do what?
Can you do something like that as a doctor and maintain your credibility, your professionalism? Will people take you seriously?
I think people would still take you seriously, honestly.
Are people ready for a doctor to be like that? For real?
I think that there's a lot of content out there right now that old school public would consider very risque for doctors to be putting out. Mm-hmm. But the public loves it, right? Because it normalizes doctors, right? It brings doctors down to earth. So What's too far?
Is having sex on Instagram, is that too far? Is that a step too far for a doctor?
Well, so technically he didn't necessarily engage in sex on Instagram. What he did was he actually had some sexual noises on Instagram, which is a very different thing, right? That is not the same thing.
But people perceive it as him having sex. I understand that he had nerves, but the majority take the perception of him having sex on it.
I get that, but to actually see it versus hear it, I think is very different for people. I think if they what about talking about your what about talking about your patients? What if you talked about your patients in a funny way? Is that too far? I think people do that all the time now. And, I think it depends on what you say. And I think it depends on who the messenger is. I think, right, there was this one doctor who had come on at one point, this is a couple of years ago. She came on and she was talking about calling her patient to let the patient know that she had an STD or something like that. People did not like that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
People didn't like that because she was like something like she's calling her patient and her patient doesn't answer the phone, but her patient does X, Y, and Z, something like that. It was something like, well, she won't answer the phone for this, but she also does that. And it was like, that's not funny. So people really just canceled her for that. But I think there are other things.
But are we ready for raw? Are we ready for the rawness? For example, let's say you had a podcast I don't know. Let's just say you had a doctor podcast like Joe Budden. Would we be ready for something like that? Sorry, not would we. Would the public be ready for a doc or two docs to have a show like that?
I'm going to say yes.
Hey, yo, I operated on this person and they did X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. They smell like this, that.
No. So, well, as long as it is HIPAA compliant, right? Because after that, don't matter what the public think, it matter what the government thinks. They coming after your ass.
But I'll be really honest with you. Once you start putting HIPAA and all that stuff, you start chopping at the knees. It dilutes it and waters it down. It's not as funny.
Well, no, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, not HIPAA. That's patient information. Why does the public need to know who this person actually is? They don't need to. You think they need to know? But those are the things
that there's rules of engagement, right? There's certain rules of engagement that happen in certain fields that make it unattractive to pay attention, right? Like, like that's the whole thing with what's that that TV show that was on forever that I never even watched, like Grey's Anatomy, right?
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy, right? Like after a while, it's like, okay, people really just want to. They don't even care about the fact that these mugs is taking out like appendixes and the medical stuff. They just want to know who's having sex
the drama.
And what color, the drama, like who doing drugs, who getting beat up, who's having an affair, all these different things. Because people want to look at their doctors like regular people. It's funny. It's actually very interesting to them, right?
No, I mean, I think, but that's why I said I think that a show like that actually would do very well. I think as long as it is HIPAA compliant. But I think after that, I'm like, look, we could get on here and we could talk about cases that we've had in the past, right? And keep it HIPAA compliant. And you think people really need to know who, what, when, where, and how?
Yes.
Get out of here. People don't need to know who, what, when, where, and how.
Yes.
They just no. They don't need to know all of that. They don't need to know all of that. But they do want to know the what, and they might want to know the how. But they don't need to know the rest. They don't need to know the rest. You think so?
Listen, y'all. I don't know, but I want y'all to text us. Text us at fan mail. Click on that text in the show notes. Let us know what you think, y'all.
Have OnlyFans. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Can a doctor have OnlyFans?
Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
we're talking. So listen. If a doctor had OnlyFans, what would be an acceptable OnlyFans that a doctor could have? Because OnlyFans is not necessarily what we all think it is, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Renee. Yes, it is, Renee.
People do foot stuff on OnlyFans, right? So it's not everything that we think it is. So if a doctor had an OnlyFans, what do you think that the public, that, you know, the OnlyFans audience would tune in to see?
Oh, it'd have to be a call-in type show. It'd be a call-in type show. Yeah, absolutely. Doc, I got this issue. Tell me what to do. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You think that? No,
Yes.
I don't think it would be that.
What would you want to see your doctor doing? What would you want to pay to see your doctor or see a doctor doing?
So, first of all, they could...
Outside of operations, and that people will find that boring.
That's not an OnlyFans thing, though, Nee. Like, oh, doc, I got this pimple. Tell me what to do about it. Like, that's not
okay, so what...
That's like an Ask Dr. Renee something.
I got you. So usually OnlyFans is... There's something like behind like a paywall that they need to pay for that you won't necessarily...
That's usually like a fetish.
So what is it? I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? That's what I'm asking you.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think like you do.
So then why you say yes that they can have OnlyFans if you don't know what...
But I told you what my reason or what my answer to the OnlyFans would be, which is like some type of show where people call in. Look, I'm not as crazy as you. My mind is not in the gutter as much as you are.
So, but see, my mind actually is not in the gutter, and that's what I was saying, right?
Okay, so give me an example.
So people have...
Because you have one in your mind.
Yes, I do have one in my mind. I was trying to see whether or not I could coax one out of you, but apparently not. So I'm the only creative one on this damn show. So let me take it over. That's why I'm sitting in the orange chair today.
Okay. You get your that's where you get your inspiration from. Okay.
Yes. So I think that people would tune in for things that are a little disgusting in medicine. I think they would tune in for things like that. Things that are
like what? Like a reaction type thing?
Kind of like Dr. Pimple Popper, but like to another level. I think that they would. I mean, because think about it, there are lots of things that
I ain't gonna front y'all. There's an algorithm with feet and those videos of dudes or the doctors like putting like they numb up the foot and then they like take the nail off and all that. I just love watching that stuff. So you talk about something like that where they shaving the foot down and taking the nail bed and all that stuff.
You see all of
the
that
fungus,
stuff, all of that stuff that says like sensitive content.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. Honestly, all of that they're doing. So here's an idea for you guys out there. If you're doing that, you want to get paid to do it. That I think would be an OnlyFans. I think it would be because people like to watch that. People like to watch it. And now social media is either getting rid of it altogether or they're putting a sensitive content thing, which makes people scroll right past it. Look at you. Look at you. You like, damn, she right. She right. She right. She right. She right. She right.
Well, listen,
You know
let's
I'm right.
let's yeah, let's transition because there's something. Oh, hold on. I don't know why I did this. I don't know
What
why
you
this came up
do?
with Apple Music. I tapped on my earbuds and then all of a sudden
Oh,
it went to Apple
I don't
Music.
hear
But
anything.
let's change directions a little bit because I'm really interested because I talked about it earlier where there was an article that came out by I think the prudent physician. I forget his name. I think I think it's the plastic surgeon. I can't remember, but it was in my Doximity thing, and it said, "Do physician couples need to share finances?" Right? It's an article here. Alfred, I'll give you the link so you can put it up and stuff. But once again, it's do physician couples need to share finances? A very interesting take on people in long-term relationships, should they share finances? And he initially talks about how he and his wife combined their finances and it made a lot of sense to them, right? But he's saying that the three areas that he thinks would be beneficial in your relationship with someone else if you decide to merge money is your relationship, your finances, taxes. And I'm not going to read the whole thing here and stuff, but those are the three areas that he talks about. We'll put the link in the show notes. But basically, combining finances can simplify managing household expenses. Physician couples may face challenges such as differing spending habits, and it allows you to communicate better when you put your money together, right? So effective communication and financial planning are crucial to address the issue. It's important to have a really tailored financial plan. So without getting into too much specifics and reviewing this article, because people can read it for themselves, let's jump into what we do, right? Let's talk about what we do on the show, right?
Yeah.
So basically what we do is it's my money, right? And
And I need it now.
whatever's
Oh, JG Wentworth, 877 cash no.
who's the Viking? Who's the Viking in that?
I don't know.
Actually, hold on for a second. Let's pause. Let's pause for a second, guys. 3, 2, 1. All right, y'all. I had to go to the bathroom. So we had to do what we had to do and stuff. Let's jump right into this, boys. All right. So let's talk about this putting our money together. So everybody, what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. Not necessarily. But we pull our money together, y'all. Whatever Renee makes is our money. Whatever I make is our money. We put our money together. We basically have, there's nothing separate in terms of our finances at all. There's nothing. I was raised in a household where I initially thought that my parents were the same way, where they had like everything together. But I think actually I found out my parents have separate accounts for like small personal things. But they had a joint account for major things and stuff like that. I don't know about your parents and so forth.
Everything's together.
Everything's together.
Everything's together.
Oh, it's always been like that?
Always been like that. Everything's together. There's no separate accounts.
So I tried to get a prenup from you, but you wasn't trying to go from that. And then since then you've been
have anything, Nee.
That doesn't mean that
nothing. You had nothing.
Just because I didn't have anything doesn't mean I can't try to still get a prenup. You do know that, right? Like,
what were you protecting, Nee?
It doesn't mean that I still could not get a prenup. I don't understand where you're going with this. I acknowledge that point. I acknowledge that I didn't have that much money. I'm just saying that I still was asking for a prenup.
You were in the negative. Hundreds
and so were
thousands of dollars. Exactly.
I was a G less than you. I was a G in the negative less than you were.
Oh my God. So you didn't want me to jack you for that G.
Guys, before we get it, listen. Hey, so we put all our money together. Initially, I wasn't all the way into it. How about you? You wanted to put all the money together in the beginning?
Yeah. Always.
Why? Because my mommy and daddy did it.
No, I want to jack you for your paper. No.
Because my mommy and daddy did it. Why?
No, that's not why.
There's a lot of things you do because your mom and dad does.
I mean, but a lot of people do that, so I don't
I
understand.
don't.
Anyway,
I don't.
um, so I think the main reason that I wanted to put our money together is because the way that I view, the way that I view family when you're, two people who are building a family is that you've got to be moving in the same direction, right? And if you don't know what is going on with one another, how can you ever be sure that you're ever moving in the same direction, right? So I used to say this a lot, especially when we started doing like the keeping up with the Darkos and stuff like that, especially talking about retirement. If your finances are very, very separate and you don't know exactly what's going on with each other's finances because they're just that separate. You do you, I do me. When you go to retire, how do you plan on retire? Because if you're not planning to be together, then you're planning to be apart. Like that's the only way that I can see it, right?
So should you?
So
So should you marry someone that, or can you be in love with someone and have a fruitful relationship with someone who you don't agree with financially?
yes, you can.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I don't necessarily know that a marriage with that person will work. So one of my mentors, I have many mentors, but one of my mentors has been in a relationship with someone for, I want to say, at least 20 years. At least 20 years. And I'm always like, when are you going to marry this woman? When are you going to marry this woman?
I know who you're talking
It's
about.
I know you know who I'm talking about. So one day I asked him that question again. I was like, I counted up the years. I'm like, so you guys just don't want to get married
See,
or whatever?
if we want a salacious show, we need to start saying who these people are.
No, you don't need to do that, Nee. Anyway,
You was about to, in the beginning of the show, you was about to share all this shit about us and stuff,
no,
but
I
now,
wasn't. Anyway, um, so I asked him the question, and finally he said, I would like to get married. He said, I absolutely would have liked to have gotten married. He said, the problem is that we're not financially compatible. And he's like, I just don't want to have to deal with our relationship going downhill because our finances, the way that we view money, is not compatible. And I was
so we
like, you
just
know what? That
so we
makes
just
a
stay
lot of
fuck
sense.
buddies.
No, they have a meaningful relationship, but what's going to happen is that in a marriage, right? If you combine forces in a marriage with somebody, right? And not you combine forces but you don't combine finances, or you both see finances a little bit differently, then that person's life, how they live, can seriously impact your life, whether negatively or positively,
All right. So
right?
what about the
Once you're
people
married
who?
to them.
I
You
got
don't
you. I
think
mean,
so?
I don't like how mature you're getting about this stuff. That drives me nuts
So what do you
sometimes.
want me to
But
say?
like,
Oh, you should
but
let's do the half and half. Let's do the half and half discussion that's going on social media right
hold
now.
on, hold on, slow your roll, because there's a lot of married couples, including some people who listen to this show, who do half and
Yeah,
half, and they've been
I
married
know
for a
they
long
do.
period of time.
I know they do.
So all I'm saying is this. What about those people? Like, let's say, for example, you have a woman in a relationship, you dating a woman, she's amazing, she's great. She's like, listen, like, I've always, like, I grew up in a situation where my mom got screwed by my dad, right?
Hmm.
And my mom had to take like 3 or 4 jobs. And the
Hmm.
number one thing that I learned is that I gotta have my money no matter what, because a man can up and
Hmm.
leave you no matter what. So if you love me, listen, we gonna build this family together. We can have kids together. I'll cook, clean. I'll be a doctor and do all this stuff. I'll be superwoman. All
Oh, why
those
she
things
gotta
that
cook clean though? Why she gotta cook clean?
she'll cook, clean, cut, right? Cook, clean, cut, right? She'll
She's
do
a
all the
surgeon.
things, right? Yeah, she'll do all the things that that you would expect traditionally for
Oh,
a
so she's
partner
in
to
a
do.
traditional role.
I said traditionally what you expect a partner to do. That's all I said.
Okay.
Right? You
Okay.
could read. See, look at you. You think you're smarter than me.
Yeah.
Everybody think
Yeah.
they smarter than me.
Get
Traditionally,
them
what you would
girls.
expect a partner, right? Because the way how we look at marriage, right? Marriage is a very traditional thing, right? And there's some people who want to pick and choose what is
Maybe.
traditional versus what's not traditional, right?
Anyway, that's not the point. What's
I
the
mean,
point
like,
of
because
your
I got you on that one, right? Because some
girl,
people
you
are like, I
didn't
don't want
get
to take
me
a
on that
last name.
one.
It's like, but I
No.
got to give you a ring traditionally, though, right? But I can't do anything. I got to be
Oh my
in a single
God.
relationship, right? But you could decide which last name. Like, come on. So anyway, let's move on. So, so yeah. So what happens in a situation where you have two people who want to create a life together, but because of their previous experience or just in general, they just are like, look, like I need something to protect myself to make sure that like, yo, I got this stash on the side so that if you decide to do your thing, the curarun, you know what I'm saying?
There's no
I can
such
be
thing as
out.
a kurarun. What
I
is
can
that?
leave and I can land safely because, for example, here's an example, right? There was several years where you were working significantly less because you were taking care of the kids, right? And during that time, when I was working primarily the majority of the time, I would make sure that they take the amount of money that I was bringing into our business. I made sure that they split it in half so that you would continue to get an income. Henceforth, you would continue to get a retirement. Like you would be able to be eligible to put a significant amount in your retirement so that it wouldn't just stop, right, for several years. Because that's the biggest thing that women, particularly women
Right.
who are
Right.
working, that's where they really fall back is once they have children and they're no longer
Right.
in the working field, like
Then they
their
get.
401ks stay stagnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's then trying to get back in the job market can be difficult, but then trying to get back into a job market that could also help them elevate their 401ks is another difficult thing, right? But I was
Even
really
I think
adamant.
I think even what's the name? Even their Medicare, right? Because their contributions
Social
to
Security.
Medicare even, or sorry,
Yeah.
to Social Security,
Yeah.
even stop. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like, yo. So I was really adamant that
Mm-hmm.
like you, like for every, like for the dollar that I make, you only get 20, right? 20 cents, right? So, but that's important to me. I wanted to make sure that you were getting equal because you never know what would happen, right?
Right.
Like if something were to happen and I don't plan on it, like you're gonna be taking care of my kids. I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like paying you nothing. I got to make sure that you have stuff saved up.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't paying you no money,
Okay.
right? So you do your
Okay.
own savings.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm joking, but you know where I'm getting with this, right? So what do you say
Yeah.
about that? What do you say about that? Women who do that.
But so I don't even know what your question is anymore
So
because you don't went around and around.
my question is, let's be in a relationship. I want to have children with you. I want to be married, but I just got to have my separate. We have to have our accounts separate.
So, okay. So that question of you do your thing, I do my thing, and what you described about what we do and how we did it when I primarily, when you primarily were the one working. Like what you did or what we did, right? In splitting that, that money so that my salary continued to go is not something that would happen in a you do your thing and I do my thing, right? So that's
And you
kind
didn't.
of
And for the record, you didn't ask me to do that. You didn't even know I
no,
was doing it.
I didn't ask you to do that, right? I
You
didn't
didn't know I
ask
was
you to
doing
do
that.
that.
Can
I
I get
did know
props for
that
that?
you were doing that. No,
Can I
I
get
did
props
know
for that?
you were doing. No, you can't get props because that's what you're supposed to do. So, no, like doing your thing and doing the other person doing their thing. Honestly, if something does happen and your spouse is out of work, then yeah, I mean, your spouse is now kind of asked out and it's like, well, you doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, you ain't got no job. How does that help your family?
But what if
Oh,
they
we
do
need money.
joint? Some people do joint, right? Where they have a joint where you pay half, I pay
Hmm.
half, the bills and all those different things. I put in half or I put in a third and what
Hmm.
have you. So you are technically you are contributing together for future.
You might be,
It's
but
just it's just that.
not necessarily, not necessarily, because right,
But when you have
you're.
for example, if you're at a job, right? If
Mhm.
you're at a job and I'm at my job, right? Like what you decide to put into your 401k, technically I don't need to know how much you put into your 401k.
Correct.
Right? Like you could decide
Correct.
you want to put 10% of your salary in there. I
Or
could
I
say
could
I'm putting
decide
like
zero.
or zero and I'm putting in 40, right? That can
Right.
happen for a couple that puts their
I
money together. They just
listen,
don't talk
I'm
about it.
telling you, I'm sure this happens all the time, right? Where couples, you do your thing, I do my thing. I'm putting, I'm maxing out my 401k every single year. The other person's not maxing out, it doesn't even have a 401k, doesn't have an IRA, doesn't have anything. I'm like, that person who doesn't have anything is planning to work until the day that they die. The person who is planning for retirement is not planning to work until the day that they die. So now when retirement age comes and you say, hey, honey, I'd like to take a trip, for so many weeks. around the world or whatever, who's going on this trip?
I am.
Because somebody got to go to work.
I am. Yeah.
Somebody got to go to work. So if you're not planning together, then what you're doing is planning to be apart. Because if this person is planning on retiring and you are not planning on retiring, or you planning on retiring, but you just don't really know how it's going to happen because you didn't, y'all never really talked about finances outside of what bills need to be paid, then what you have is a financial roommate. You do
So
not have a financial partner.
So
I'm
should we be
sorry.
more mature? Should we be more mature and put a disclaimer on? This is if you have two mature,
No,
consenting adults
no,
in this. Well, hold
no.
on, because you could be married to someone and they could be completely horrible with money, right? And you have to keep
Yeah.
money on the sides and stuff.
That
So you
don't
say you should
mean
get a
that they
divorce?
didn't. That no, I'm not saying you should get a divorce. I'm not saying you divorce this person because. What I'm saying is that
Look at Renee
it's
thinking she
going
Dr.
to
Love.
anyway. It's going to pose a problem at some point in your relationship when either you have some sort of financial strife, one or both of you have financial strife, or when it comes to the point of retirement and you can't do that. Like, if your spouse gets sick for any reason and loses their job, and now you have to be the one to take care of them, and you don't actually know what's going on with them financially, then how are you handling this? Because you didn't know honey over here got 6 credit cards that they just maxing out all the time. Honey over here got a loan that they just not paying on, and next oh, let's go get a house. We can't get a house because
Obviously,
this person's credit is messed up.
but okay. So I'm playing devil's advocate. I agree with you, right? Because so I was talking to some of the PAs at my job. They're younger and they're getting married, or they're thinking about getting married, and we were talking about finances. And I just found it odd that the majority of them want to get married so early, right? They don't have kids yet. They want to get married so early, but yet they still want to hold on to things of, yeah, my money is my money. Their money, this person's money is their money. So
Mhm.
how are you gonna pay the bills? Well, what we'll do is we'll do this calculation where every month they have to cash at me. Seriously, one person was doing this.
Mhm.
The person has to cash at me like a third of this to pay for the
Have a
bills in the
roommate.
house. And if so we want to put this furniture and so technically I really want like crown molding, so I'm gonna put in like 2/3, and I'm like, whoa,
That's a
this is
roommate.
crazy.
That's a
This is
roommate.
crazy. And,
That's a
and
roommate.
I recently just found out that they listen to the show. I love you guys, but yeah, we talking about y'all for
Y'all got
content,
roommates.
and but they all changing though. They all said that. So when we got into the nitty gritty of things, so I was like saying like, so you gonna have like a side stash so that like you can like you gonna have like a couple of stacks in there, and they're like, no. I mean, like, I want to be able to like, if I want to go like to the salon, or if I want to be able to buy like a nice, pair of. I was like, oh, so you talking about like a, what do you call it? You talking about like a little slush fund and stuff, right? Like if you want to go to Wendy's, or if you want to buy Jordans, or if you want to buy something nice for your spouse, or if you want to spoil yourself or something like that, just little things here and there. So once we clarify that, I think they understand that concept that you can have a separate little slush account that the other
I'm
person is
not a,
aware.
I'm not against having a little
Because I do.
slush.
I do.
Anyway, no, you no, you don't.
Yes, I
Um,
do. You just don't know the password.
okay, whatever. So I'm not against having a little slush account or whatever. My thing is, I am against not knowing that this account exists. I'm against not knowing what is in this account. Like why what are you hiding that you don't want your spouse to know about this thing?
They're
And you
not
know what's
hiding it.
really
They're
funny?
not
Yeah,
hiding
they're
it. They
hiding
just
it.
they.
A lot of people do hide. A lot of women especially do
Here we
hide
go. Here we go.
because
Here we go.
they're
Here we go.
no, 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 no.
There you go,
So
Renee.
we know that
Telling yourself.
we know
Telling yourself.
anyway.
Go ahead.
We know that a lot of women do hide, right? Because certain women have grown up, in some vulnerable positions, unfortunately, kind of like what you just mentioned, right? Where it's like, well, my dad screwed my mom over, and she didn't have a dime to her name. He took everything and X, Y, and Z. So I understand where that sentiment comes from. I understand where that sentiment comes from. I guess because I've never experienced that, right? Like I didn't see that with my parents. For me, it doesn't make sense that you would ever marry somebody who you are afraid would actually take that level of advantage of you, such that you didn't know, you didn't know where any of your money was. And the fact that you would be so little involved in your own family's finances that you didn't know that this was happening, right? So, and that's not to say that that doesn't happen. It does. It does. And for several different reasons, it can be education, it could be authoritative issues, it could be a lot of different reasons that it happens. I'm just saying, I just don't necessarily think that that's the healthiest way to go about being in a marriage financially.
So for the
That's
record,
just
for
my
us
thing.
guys, so for the record, Renee, like you don't know every decision that I make financially for us, though, right? Like you don't know the.
So
Hold on. Let me finish. You don't know the decisions that I make with the CPA, right?
no, no,
You don't
not
know,
every single
right?
one. No,
You
not every
don't know,
single one.
right? You don't see the receipts. You don't see the statements. You don't see what's redacted, right? You see what I
What's
show you, right?
redacted?
Right?
Redacted, really?
Right, redacted. Yes,
No.
but the point of the matter is, you don't know. You don't know You don't know. You have a 30,000 foot view of how our tax situation is. Thirty
Hmm.
thousand foot view of how our retirement and our benefit situation is.
No, I have more than a 30,000-foot view of that. Hmm.
Okay, I think you're
Hmm.
potting. You don't know,
I do
right?
know.
And
I do know.
how
I
do you
do
know?
know.
You know what? Let's
That
pod. How do you know? How do you know, guys?
so
Guys,
first of
I'm
all,
bringing you. I'm bringing y'all. We letting y'all in. Nah. How you know? Tell me how you know.
so first of all,
You be checking my
okay.
emails?
First of all, every email that the financial advisor sends to you, she sends to me. And if you think I'm not looking at them emails, you are wrong. Okay. That's number
But
one.
you see, when I
Number
reply to her, I don't hit
two,
reply all.
anyway, number
I
two,
don't. I don't hit reply all.
number
So
two,
some things get lost in translation system. All right.
anyway, number
All
two,
right.
when we have phone calls, I'm usually on the phone calls. I don't make every single phone call,
Yo, man, for
but
real,
I'm
our financial
usually on the
advisor, but
phone
she be
calls.
sharing too much. Like, yeah, why you gotta tell my wife this? You could keep that conversation between me and you. Damn, shut up. So this is how much you guys are gonna put in as a couple. Like, shut up. I was kind of skim off 10% off the top and shit. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so that's
Go ahead.
how I know, and that's how I'm involved. But I think that if you're in a relationship where you are afraid to talk about money, or you're a person who kind of avoids, finances and financial talks,
Wait, hold
then
on. Don't. Let's not.
even if you
Let's stay on that topic though. For real, hold on. Hold
what
on.
what topic?
You you do read the emails, right? You do read the
Yes.
emails, but there's a lot. Even before we even get to the emails, there's still decisions that are made before you even get to that point. A lot of times, those emails are results. Excuse me. Those emails are
Mhm.
summaries of what have already happened during the year and stuff,
Mhm.
right? So just so people understand, like we have to keep it a buck with people, right? Like it's not like every decision that I make, I'm telling you like we're making this decision, unless it's
Mhm.
major, right? Like, hey,
Right.
I'm buying like 2 Teslas and stuff like that, which I would never do, right? But like
Mhm.
what I'm just saying is like there's a lot of decisions that are made financially that you're not privy to until the end.
Correct. But there's also, before we get to that point, right? There's always a strategy, right? So there's a strategy, and then there's the decision that's made based on the strategy, right? So for example, the strategy would be, we're going to max out our 401ks. Yes? Yes, right? Like, so that's the strategy. So now the actual money has to then be moved, right? Or when you come to me and you say, I think we need to give ourselves a raise, right? And I say, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and give ourselves a raise, right? So I may not necessarily know the dollar amount until the end, right? Because you work out those details with our financial advisor. But the overall strategy, yeah, I know. I know that, yes, we're going to get a raise, and we're going to get more money into our salaries. Or if you
Would
say,
there
you
be
know what,
would there be
or
amount
you
that you
say, let's
disagree with?
decrease.
Would there
I
be
mean,
amount that you disagree with? Like for example, would you be like, oh hold up, how come you gave yourself a 50% increase and you only gave me like $1?
first of all, you would not do that, because that would be your neck.
Oh,
But secondly,
just so you know, there was a discussion to, what do you call it, to not give you a salary because financially it made sense. So that was a discussion.
I was privy to that discussion though. Right? I was privy to that discussion. And part of the reason that that discussion didn't necessarily go in that direction to not give me a salary at all was because
Tell
we
them.
knew that it was
Tell
going
them.
to it was going to impact quite a number of other things, right?
Like
So
what? Like
even
what,
my
Renee?
disability insurance, even my, like, so it was going to impact quite a number of things, right? So I was privy to that discussion. That's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily need to sit down and nickel and dime every single, you know, I don't have to look at every single number, but I do need to know the overall, and I need to know some of the details. But I don't need to be like, oh, well, you didn't carry the one over here. So, X, Y, and Z. And
All
I
right, so tell them
think,
how we handle our finances. Tell them how we handle our finances, because I think we can. Before we get too academic with everybody, how do we handle our finances on a monthly basis?
so on a monthly basis, we make a budget, right? You have taken over doing the budget. We did the budget together for quite a number of years, right? And
And then I was
so
like, I got this.
right. So after we did the budget together for quite a number of years, now you go and you take care of the budget. I still have access to the budget. So if I want to go in and I want to see X, Y, and Z, I can go in and look at the budget and be like, I think we should move this here. I think we should move this there. We can have that discussion, right? Oftentimes, if you are going to change something in the budget, then you come to me and you go, you know what? I think we should, nix this for a certain amount of time, right? So we did make that decision at one point to nix something that we thought we would always contribute to, but we said, you know what? For a certain amount of time, we're not going to contribute to this particular fund because we have other priorities, and then we'll come back and we'll start contributing to this fund in a few months, right? So before that decision was made, though, right? Before that decision was made, that was a discussion that we had. So now I know that if I see this fund and the funds have not been contributed to over a certain amount of time, I don't have to be like, oh, what happened? I know what
Do you have the
happened. I was
password for
part of
every
that
account?
discussion. Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't, Renee. You don't have the password for every financial account that we have.
Okay,
All I'm just saying is that you be trying to front like
then
this is
we
like
then we
like
got
this is
some
everything
then
is
we got
perfect.
then we got I didn't say everything was perfect. That's not what I said. I didn't say everything was perfect. What I'm saying is that you have to be involved, right? You've got to be involved enough. If I don't have the passwords to every single thing, what I do have is access, right, to our financial advisors. What's the platform? What's the
I mean,
platform?
you ain't got access to that.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I do.
Okay. She must have sent you a password on the side, and I need to talk to her about that.
So anyway, anywho, but
Well,
yeah,
I think go ahead, but I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you guys straight up. I think that it's better to put the money together because I think two incomes are better than one. I think that two heads are better than one
you
when you're
ain't
trying
start
to
out like
tackle
that.
when you want to tackle certain things. So we had a whole bunch of student loan debt. I think that we would have been in a way different position if we took the mantra of, Renee, you handle your debt and then I'll handle my debt and then we'll meet in the middle somewhere. I think like we would not be able to accomplish half of the things that we've been able to accomplish, i.e. becoming locums by ourselves, i.e. going on as many mission trips as we want to, i.e. being able to not create any more debt while doing IVF, starting the podcast. All of these different things would look completely different if we didn't combine our money and then be able to attack certain problems together. I'll be straight up honest with y'all, right? So I think that's the number one goal or the number one benefit of putting two incomes, sharing an account together is that ability to literally put two heads and tackle a solution. I think that's number one. I think the second thing also is there's just certain things that you're really good at and there's things that I'm really good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And although I think money is a very, what's the best way I can describe? Money is something that is very personal. It's something that Like, look, like you always say, like if you can have children with someone but you can't share your account, well, what are we talking about here? This doesn't make
I'm
sense,
saying I'm
right?
sharing half
So,
my DNA with you, but I wait, what?
but I do think that in essence, you trust the decisions. You may not know everything, but you trust the decisions that I make will be in favor of me and you first, and then
The best,
overall
right?
of the family and
The
stuff,
best
and
interest
vice
of our
versa.
family.
There's certain things that you do that I'm like, all right, well, I don't need to know everything, but like, I just know that she got my back and stuff like that. You know, you're
Right.
not gonna put poison in the food, right? So,
I might put some cat and dog in there, but
right? No, but guys, Renee makes financial decisions that I just don't know privy about, right? Like, we got something, a major thing going on right now that I'm just like, look, Renee, you just gonna have to handle that. I ain't got time for all that, right?
yes,
We'll
we
talk about
do.
that later.
But yeah, we will talk about that later.
And the
But
business, she runs docs outside the box, guys.
even in those major decisions though, right? Like this thing that we have going on right now, um, even in that, right? Like nothing happens until we both are on the same page, right? So I might be leading the discussions, I might be, getting the ball rolling, and I might be making the concessions and provisions and stuff like that, but nothing happens until we're both on the same page. So it's important to have those discussions. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say like you got to sit down and you got to, maybe in the beginning like we did, right? You sit down and you nickel and dime and you try to figure out what's going on. And I think that's helped us to be on the same page so that we get to the point where we can make certain, we can kind of distribute some of the responsibilities. Um, but I think never putting your resources together, I'm just like,
All
for
right,
me, I feel like that would be living with a roommate.
all
That's
right,
all.
got you. But we can't lie. Like, we kind of walked into an ideal situation, right? Like, you ain't got no
How?
money, I ain't had no money.
No, but
Like, there
people do
really,
that. People do that all the time. They ain't got no money.
but there
People
wasn't.
who
There's not a major difference in our salaries, right? Like, maybe just a
people
little
do
bit
that all the
here.
time, though. But
But
I
what
mean, with
about?
me,
Hold on, hold
people do it
on.
all the time.
Hold on. Can you entertain my thought for a quick second?
Let's see.
What happens when one person makes way more than the other person, right? Let's say
Hmm.
somebody's like in like the triple, someone is like in the 6 digit realm or close to
Hmm.
the seven digit realm, and
Yep.
they're dating someone who's still in the 5 digit realm,
Hmm.
right? Like, how do you budget then? Whose money is who? When there's a clear difference, right? There's a
Hmm.
clear difference. What happens then, sis? Talk to me about that. What do you got to say about
So
that? Let me see you act all mature then when you BSing, when you potting,
anyway.
right?
So, but that for me, that's kind of the same situation that you just mentioned about, well, what if,
Like a
one,
neurosurgeon is dating a pediatrician. What do you do then?
why you gotta,
Right?
damn, Nee, why you gotta say it like that, yo? Pediatricians, we got love for y'all. Stop playing, Nee.
Oh,
Stop
snap.
playing,
Some of
Nee.
our good friends are pediatricians, but come on, stop. Y'all know. That Medicaid, that chip money.
Oh my God. Listen.
Go ahead, yo. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yo. Go
Anyway, but
ahead.
I think
We know ER docs and pediatricians that are married. What happens there? Go ahead. Move on.
so. I think it's kind of like what you said about what happens, for example, when you have, let's say, in a traditional role, let's say the wife decides to stay home with the kids until the kids are in eighth grade or finish high school, and they're not making any income at all, right? Even somebody who makes a five-figure salary now is compared to a person who's making zero. It's this, for me, it's the same thing. It's like, what are you doing to advance your family? You decided to marry this person not because of, I wanted to have financial strife. That's not why you didn't marry a person so that you could figure out how you could fight financially. That's not why you got married. You got married because you love the person, you want to build together with the person, I'm assuming, and you want your family to be on proper footing, right? You want to
Oh, come on.
advance your
You,
family name.
you
So
stating the
for me,
obvious.
but
I
no,
disagree with you on that point. I disagree
that's
on your
not
point, though.
necessary, but that's not necessarily
I
obvious
disagree
to a
with you.
lot of people. For you
I
can
disagree with
disagree with
you.
me.
I'll tell you why
That's
I
fine.
disagree with you.
But I
Because
think
when you usually when someone decides to take time off, that is two people make that decision. Like, yo, you're gonna take time off so you can focus on the
nope,
kids. I'll
nope,
just keep working.
nope. You being
That's
naive.
not how it
'Cause
goes.
that's not true. That's not true. That's not always. No, that is not
Okay, but when
always
you compare
a
that, looking
mutual
at someone who's,
decision.
but when you look at it compared to someone saying, hey, like I'm bringing in 50,000, I'm bringing in 50 stacks, and I'm gonna be marrying a woman who's bringing in 7 stacks, or seven figures. So, like, does this even make sense to split? Like, this person says, hey, I want to get like this $500,000 house. We can afford it, but who's gonna be paying for most of it though?
But that's what I'm saying. If you do your thing and you do my thing, that's the discussion you're gonna have. Who's gonna be paying it? Because if you say, you do your thing, I do my thing, we can't afford it. I can afford it, but
No,
we cannot
I
afford
can't.
it.
I can't afford it. You can afford it. We total can
That's
afford it, but you majority are going to be putting money in.
But
So
that's
now
but
you have a
that's
power dynamic. Now you have a power dynamic that you haven't really thought about because, in essence, this person is putting in more towards this house that maybe you could not get on your own. But now that you're with this person, you can get it. Do you see what I'm saying? So now it's like,
I understand that.
right? There's power dynamics that you just don't. Come on, Renee, stop doing that.
I listen. I understand that. I'm telling you from my
You
point
see
of
the
view.
chair that you're sitting on. I paid for that chair that you're sitting in, the orange one. You
Anyway,
got the gray one.
and who picked the chairs?
I did.
No, you didn't. I found this. I found this chair for you. Stop playing. Stop playing. I
Okay, go
found the
ahead.
chairs,
Make
and
your
I told
point.
you where to go get it.
Make your point.
Anyway, my point is that when you decide to get married, in my point of view, you work as a unit. You work as a unit.
Okay.
It's
So
kind of.
take me through this
I mean,
conversation.
you work as a unit. It's kind of like. How can I
No,
put this?
I'm gonna
Oh,
pin you
okay.
to this one point. I'm
Here,
gonna make you
here,
pod. No,
here.
no, no.
What?
We're sticking on the example of the house. Stick
I
on the
am.
example of a
That's what I'm.
house.
Oh my
Okay,
God! But if you would
go for
just
it.
zip it,
I
lock
can't.
it
I'm
up,
the host.
throw it away.
I'm the host. I can't. Go ahead.
You first you zip it, then you flip it. So, for example, right? It's like if you have a department and everybody in the department is, your surgery department.
Did we say we talking
Everybody.
about houses?
We are talking about houses, Nee. If everybody in the surgery department is working, right? And you're all contributing to whatever, you can't be like, well, you know, my my portion of of the patients that I see, that money should go towards this and this should. You're working as a department. This is the same thing. If you marry somebody, you are working as a unit. You combine as one, as a unit. And so for me, it's like it doesn't matter who's contributing what. What matters is, are you moving as a unit? Now, if you want to, compete as a surgery department with the OBGYN department, then
Here
you
we
can
go. She
certainly
potted.
be
Here we go.
competitors.
You
But
you you
you should
you you
not be
dancing.
competing. You
You
should not be
dancing.
oh my Lord. You
You
should not be
dancing.
competing with your spouse. Your spouse is
Okay.
not on a different team. You're on
You
the
are
same
make
team.
Renee. You see a couple. One couple makes
Yes.
55 grand. The other person makes $3 million.
Mm,
Now they have to decide what kind of house are they going to get. What
mhm.
kind of house are they going to get? Right? One person says, "Hey, I think we should move into this neighborhood where the houses are on average $800,000."
Mhm.
Together, their combined income can afford that. The other person is like, well, I want to live in, I want to, like, what's the other person going to say? I want to live in this place where the average house costs $100,000, right? Like,
But that's you're talking about a situation in which one person does one thing and the other person does their own thing. That's the discussion.
no,
Because if two
what I'm saying is together they can afford a more expensive house, right?
Mhm.
And let's say they decide we're working as a unit. There's always going to be that thing of, listen, bro, like I'm putting in 75% towards this house. I want this.
Again,
We
again,
still moving as a unit, but just know that, I mean, based off of how much I'm putting into this mortgage and what you're putting into this mortgage, just based off the percentages. You don't think that there's always that little underlying thing? You don't think so?
babe, if that were the case, right? Then there's always going to be this separation of you basically are making this and you are making that. It's never that means that couple doesn't see it as we are making this much. That's what I'm saying to you. The fact
But
that
that
that would
reason I
even
gave
be a
you,
part of the discussion,
but
the
that's why I
reason that
made it
would
such a big. That's why I made it such a big
I understand
disparity,
it,
so
babe.
that
I
it's
understand
outright in
why you
front of
did.
you. When you're both making 100 grand, it's like that's not that big of a difference. Like they're not gonna have that conversation, right? But when you're making, like, what do you do in that situation? What's your advice there, Dr. Love?
Anyway, this is not about love. This is about finances. I
We're
think
not talking about
still,
him.
I think, I think still in that case, it should be a we. Because if somebody with $3 million, $3 million a year decides to marry somebody with who's making $50,000 a year, I don't know what that person was expecting. I really don't. Because if you really want to be talking about, oh, this is how much money I put towards this and this is how much money I put towards that, then maybe you shouldn't be marrying somebody who makes $50,000 a year. Maybe that's not the there is such thing as not being financially compatible. There is such thing so much of not being financially compatible that yes, it would justify not marrying that person.
So could
Absolutely
you not be
100%.
financially compatible just based on the fact that someone makes more than you? You save a much, you save the same amount. You don't spend a lot of money. It's just that you just make stacks on stacks on stacks on stack compared to the other person. Could that be
So
just the?
so it's not just
And we gotta wrap this up. We gotta wrap this up because we have
it's
to split
not
this
just
episode in two, girl.
it's not just based on your financial behaviors that would make you financially compatible. It's also your outlook on finances, right? If you are like what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, even though you two might have the same types of behaviors, right? You might have the same types of behaviors, but you still see it as you do your thing and I'll do my thing, you still may not be financially compatible. You still might not be. Because how are you ever moving as for me, somebody write in and explain to me if y'all are doing you do your thing, I do my thing, and you cash at me, to be able to pay the bills. Somebody explain to me how that resembles in any way, shape, or form a marriage in comparison to a roommate situation, except that y'all are sleeping together. You might as well just stay boyfriend, girlfriend.
All right, y'all. I want y'all to click
That's
on the
how
fan
I see
mail
it.
or text us and let us know who was really telling the truth versus who was potting. We already know Renee was potting. She was BSing. She's not telling y'all the real, the real. I tell you guys
What's
the
the
real,
real,
real.
real? I don't
I tell you,
understand.
well, they're going to have to tune in for another episode for that because we done. Y'all, I
You
appreciate
didn't
y'all
really
tuning
say
in to
much of
another episode
nothing.
of.
So
I appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of Docs Outside the Box. This is a great episode, actually, Renee. This is a really good episode because people get to really see how you roll. You know what I'm saying? And,
what does that even mean
it
though?
it may change their view of you, actually.
It
It may change
might,
their view.
but you know how
But,
I think. You know
but
how I feel about what people care, what people think about me.
All right, y'all. We love y'all. We'll catch you guys on another episode of Docs Outside the Box, y'all. Peace.
Deuces. Put your money together.